And so she was like acing through this writing task we had to do. She's already written like 2 pages.
I was much happier. I was much happier across the board. And it just meant I could take over a lot of what Gideon was doing, a lot of the roles and responsibilities and functions that he was doing to help me out, I could do.
Came to view. Her wet hair fell to one side, exposing a fairly wide expanse of her neck.
I've had a hearing loss since birth, but it was moderate when I was born, and it got progressively worse until I became profoundly deaf around about the age of 26, 27. I'm now 40 and completely deaf. Got my first hearing aids when I was 5. My hearing loss wasn't picked up until I started school, and they gave me 2 hearing aids, and they were cumbersome. They were really big back then, and they were loud. The technology wasn't as good as it is now. As much as I should have worn them, I didn't want to wear them, so I just hated everything about them. So I just kept putting them in the bin and giving them to the dog and hiding them down the back of the couch. So I stopped wearing them from about the age of 8 onwards and didn't wear them again until I was 20. I had my kids a few years before I got my cochlear implant, and that was a pretty difficult time because when you have a kid and you're home with a baby and they sleep all day and they fill the nappy and they do what they do, you normally go off and do mothers groups, or you go to Plunket, or people come over, or you pick up the phone and you talk to a girlfriend, and you kind of go to a park and you socialise with other mums and stuff like that. Well, I couldn't do any of that. Trying to understand and be understood is quite frustrating. Like, it's one of those things that it got to a point with my hearing loss. Mostly I didn't really think about it until I sort of reached my mid-20s. I managed to just sort of, get through mostly unscathed. But by the time I got to my 20s, it was one of those things that every time I went out, I was confronted with it. I couldn't just go out and relax and just navigate my way through the world. It was from, trying to, if I was in a shop and someone asked me, to how much it was going to cost or anything like that, I would go, I couldn't understand them or hear them. I couldn't watch TV, I couldn't use a telephone, I couldn't go to a bar or a restaurant or cafes, just any of those usual sort of social things. Parties were a nightmare. My husband was he was great, he was very patient, but it was just simple things like talking about what we're going to have for dinner, or, he'd want to go out and party and I'd just be like, oh, I just can't go out because I just can't, so we kind of started to socialise separately and stuff like that, which was not so great because I'm a really independent person, and it just got my goat that I couldn't do so, little things like I'd want to do a doctor's appointment for the kids and I would have to drive to the doctor's because my doctor didn't have email. I'd have to drive to the doctor's, make the appointment, and then come home and then go back to the doctor's. I couldn't just pick up the phone and go, okay, can we come and see you at 3 o'clock? I'd have to go there and see what kind of... So it's just little things like that. Of course, once I got the cochlear implant, it was just like a whole new world. Just like being able to use a telephone and, I can go to a nightclub now. Not that I would go to a nightclub now, but I could. A noisy restaurant, wherever, and take part and be part of it all and hear what people have got to say. I love that. That's awesome. Nephew was set up in Australia about 8 years ago by a woman called Olivia Anderson, and the Hearing House in New Zealand have licence here for you to bring it to this country. And so my first job was to go around and find 8 mentors who were pretty good at sports, well, sporty, academically were quite strong, but also had a lot of integrity as an individual. And I've just been incredibly lucky. I've managed to find these amazing human beings. And together we run 3 workshops a year. We run them in Auckland and in Christchurch. And we invite mentees between the age of 11 and 18 to come and spend time with us over a Saturday workshop. And we learn about things like identity, advocacy, sort of teamwork, leadership skills. We learn about, talk about future career prospects and studying what they should be thinking about, relationship skills, conflict, all those things that sort of come up in your teenage years. And although it's not focused on the teenager's hearing loss, we acknowledge that the teenage years can be a pretty brutal time. It can be pretty hard going. And we're there to say this is what worked for us as teenagers. We had to deal with this communication issue, hearing loss, just like our mentees, and this is what worked for us. And I think more than anything, it's been a safe place and sending a very strong message that you're not alone. You know, there are other people out there who have had it just as bad and kind of, if not worse. So to not take responsibility for everything that happened to them, that actually, you know, it's really hard making it out there in the world fully functioning, and then to throw a hearing loss into the mix, it just makes it even that much harder. So we're kind of there to say, look, you're going to be okay, it's going to be tough, but you're going to come out the other side better for it.